additional hiring an additional person to run this a week. The price of the vehicles, the operating costs, the fuel costs, maintenance cost of the vehicles. So all of that was figured in, and we're still able to save money. So, and I'll tell you, the line item for waste management was around, and I can't give you the exact number, but it was around $500,000 a year.
A year?
A year.
Yeah.
Chris can, he has it, he'll have the number here for you.
There's the 2020 number.
Okay, so this will be the
Just a minute.
2020 number of what we're gonna pay this year. It's 500,000.
You're very close, I know.
Yeah.
Refuse fund. Contract services, refuse collection, $535,000 was the budget for it last year, or for this calendar year.
And so that's what we're paying every year to waste management. With this, us taking it on, we're looking at saving a lot.
And hopefully fixing the price for the citizens where we're in control of how much it costs to you instead of whatever waste management wants. And we think that can stay down.
In last council meeting, was I in error, or did I hear that there was going to be a price increase for trash pickup and water because of the new equipment?
No.
So over the long haul, that will stabilize our water and trash.
The trash. I'm not, water is a completely different discussion, which,
Well, the water is tied in with the trash.
It's a
and
utility
As I
bill.
understand it, it's not separable.
as a utility bill, yes. Your trash service a month is not, we are locking in that rate. That's what our goal was with doing this, is we would be able to lock in that rate, and then we're not negotiating with another company who's, I mean, they're gonna try to make money. And over the course of this contract that we had with Waste Management, the price went up annually. And I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was by $1 or $2 around in there a year per customer that it was gonna go up. And then it was gonna go up, if we renegotiated another 4 or 5 year contract, I mean, we can assume safely that it was still gonna go up. This way, we are in control of that, we can lock in that price.
And so the only cost we're going to incur is I'm assuming the full-time staff for trash. Probably a couple, 2, 3 people.
One.
One? 2 trucks? Okay. So no maintenance person for the trucks as well?
So, and I believe the maintenance, we were looking at somebody in
contracting
Troy. There's a company,
Yeah.
a company in Troy that is familiar.
And then the dump fees for, I'm assuming, Miami County.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Yes, sir. Thank you for asking. Appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Any other comments by citizens tonight for the legislation? All right. Seeing none, I will move on to ordinances and resolution. CM-20-30, Ms. Brosh.
Thank you. I will tell you before I read it, in section 1, the dollar amount's wrong, and I will read the correct dollar amount. when we get
Thank
there.
you.
A resolution amending CN-20-25, a contract to expand public works to include garbage refuse services. Whereas council approved resolution CM-20-25, authorizing the lease purchase of trucks and garbage totes from Best Equipment Company of Indianapolis, Indiana. And whereas the initial purchase agreement was dated February 4th, 2020. And whereas the price for the toters only has increased. And whereas the municipal manager recommends paying an additional fee to secure the correct amount of garbage containers for collection. Now therefore be it resolved by the council of the municipality of West Milton, Ohio, that section 1, The council authorizes an additional $6,199.16 to the existing contract with Best Equipment Company of Indianapolis, Indiana. Section 2, the finance director is hereby authorized to make the additional payments required to complete said lease purchase agreement. Section 3, this resolution shall take effect and be enforced from and after its passage.
Thank you, Lenny. Ben, I believe that this is pretty self-explanatory by the language, but is there anything else that you might like to add to it, or?
No, just that that was a good question asked. They were obviously able to hold the price of the trucks, the toters. It didn't increase very much. More of the increase is actually to secure some additional toters. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you.
What's the total number now?
Total number will be, let's make sure this is the right one. We're looking at 1,750 of the 96 gallon and 600 of the 48 gallon for the small.
Okay.
Ben, what was the old number?
One for just the toters,
Yeah.
115,805.90.
No, the count. How many of the toters did we have before?
Sorry.
I think it was 1,600 or something.
Well, so, I'm not sure what your question is.
How many toters were initially in the?
Oh, 16, and I believe there were still 600. Yeah, 16
Okay.
and 600.
So another 150 of the
Yeah,
96 gallon.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Does this complete the process of us getting into the trash service? So this is the last piece of legislation for that?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, won't we have to set rates and get into the nitty gritty of all that with the
That will,
resolution?
yes, for the purchasing of the equipment, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, is that what you're asking, Jason?
And then I'm sure residents will want to know when it's starting. Are we still going to continue to go month
So
to month
the-
until we get it all?
The goal, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, but the goal is we're possibly, and Jason, I'm gonna retract what I just said. And I know you can catch me on this. So one of the things that we're also looking at is the possibility of purchasing a third vehicle that's used from Versailles. Okay, I started to say Arcan, but from Versailles for. Do you know about how much that would be?
Well, under 25. Just talk to mainly, our big thing was finding out the shape it was in and then holding it off Gov Deals for us, which was actually, they were gonna list it tomorrow and they're letting us come over Monday to look at it. It's a carbon copy of what we're looking at, and I talked to the guy that services it and he said it's actually in really good shape. So 25 would be the max.
So there's no other kind of legislation that we have to go through to officially get into the business? I mean, because I know that this stuff's been the purchase of the equipment and stuff, but there's no official.
I don't believe so,
Okay.
but I don't.
Just the nuts and bolts of it as far as.
Setting the rates.
Setting it up, setting the rates, if you have to hire somebody else on their position, that sort of thing, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Any motions?
I'd like to make a motion to accept resolution CM-20-25 with the correction that Law Director Broche,
30.
huh?
20-30.
Oh, I read the wrong thing.
Oh, you're amending.
I was trying to pay attention. I'd like to make a motion to accept resolution CM-20-30 with the correction to the amount as Law Director Broche read of $6,199.16.
Second.
Roll call.
Lynn,
No.
Cobb,
Yes.
Hurst,
Yes.
Horn,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Dews,
Yes.
and Mayor Miller.
Yes. Second on the agenda tonight is CM-20-31, an ordinance amending the recreational vehicles and trailers.
amending section 150.290 recreational vehicles and utility trailers. Whereas it has been determined that section 150.290 trailers of the West Milton Code of Ordinances, as it is currently written, contains restrictions that were not the intention of council at the time the ordinance CM-14-15 was passed on October 14, 2014. And whereas it is the desire of council to amend section 150.290B7 to make this section more effective in order to accurately reflect the needs of the residents of West Milton, which would in turn result in the improvement in the peace and welfare of the residents of West Milton. Now therefore, the council for the municipality of West Milton, Ohio hereby ordains as follows. Section 1, the language contained in the existing section of the West Milton Code of Ordinances 150.290B7, recreational vehicles and utility trailers is hereby amended. Section 2, the council for the municipality of West Milton, Ohio hereby adopts the amended language, which reads as follows. 150.290, recreational vehicles and utility trailers. Section B, parking and storage of recreational vehicles and utility trailers. Section 7, all recreational vehicles and utility trailers that are longer than 30 feet, higher than 12 feet, or have more than 6 wheels are strictly prohibited from being stored on residential property within the village, except if stored within a building that meets the village's zoning requirements or a structure that is otherwise approved by the planning board and/or board of adjustments. Section 3, this ordinance shall be in effect from and after the earliest date allowed by law.
Thank you. We, when we were developing this original ordinance in 2014, it was a very long drawn-out process of over 6 months of trying to get this language to where we felt comfortable without being punitive to anybody, but it would still, the purpose behind it was always, or the intent was always, to keep our city looking nice, and without having things stored where it could potentially be an eyesore. I think that this kind of closes up some of the, or makes that intent a little bit clearer by changing this language or adding this language. But, and I don't know if anybody else has any other discussion about this or not. Being an ordinance, this is the first reading, so we will have a second reading at the November council meeting. Thank you, Ms. Grosh. I would like to go ahead and move on. The next item on the agenda is our fiber optic discussion. And Tina, I don't know if you'd like to open up or if Andy would.
I'm happy.
Okay.
Mayor Milton, council, I want to thank you very much for the opportunity to be here again today. I'm here with Andy. We're sorry, I have been certainly talking with you all about the progressive understanding of broadband needs and development, and understanding what the municipality has from its vertical assets and capabilities and so forth. And so today we're here to talk a little bit more about some of the financial considerations around what that would look like. And oh, you want me to step up to the microphone?
Well, I had to.
Yeah, he had to.
No worries, happy to do so, thank you. Anyway, Andy is with me today, and he has some financial considerations to share, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina.
A few handouts for you. Andy Broussard with Bradley Pay Advisors. I think most of you know me from way back when.
Yeah.
Pass a few of these out for you. Should be six. Thanks.
Yeah.
So, wouldn't be a bond guy if I didn't start off to show you where interest rates are at. So just to give you a perspective on where things are at in the market. That first page there, you're looking at page 2, looks like this is this chart, and this kind of puts in perspective where things are at these days with interest rates being so low. It's a good time for a lot of clients. We're looking at trying to lock in rates, looking at projects. You can see here in terms of the gray bar range, where we've been going back to 1991 is the average. So high, as you can see on the top of the chart there. Recently, about a month ago, we hit another all-time low. So interest rates again are really low for out on the yield curve going out 30 years. This is the benchmark AAA curve, so it's what everything else is set off of in terms of where other bond issues are set in terms of the credit spread above, and it's always based off the AAA. But again, you can see how it's really low looking at financings at this time. In terms of the project financing details, we've looked at this in a couple different ways and how to get the lift off the ground in terms of, obviously, the hard part's getting the money up front. Startup utilities are a bit difficult because the only thing that's pledged with the utility district is the revenues from that district. And so without having a defined base to start it up, we need some other security backstops to it. And so one of the other issues that we looked at in terms of trying to get this financed up front is to, again, similar to what we did out on Stillwater Crossing, to utilize the Warren County Port Authority. And there we use what they call a bond fund to help finance the project. At least there were 2 tranches of bonds. One of the bonds we used the bond fund for. And it's designed to take on a little more risk and help you lock in those low rates for, in this case, we're looking at a 20-year financing. But it gets us to that point in time where we're able to work with them to find a structure that can get the bonds done. One of the deals we're going to close on actually next week is similar type financing for Springboro, and they went through the bond fund in Warren County. There they had to pledge their non-tax revenues as a backstop, and so what's designed here as well is that some sort of security will be needed for a period of time until revenues are sufficient that we see coverages there, and we would have what they call a burn-off provision. And these metrics have not been set yet, but they'll have to be worked out. When we looked at the $2 ranges in terms of the financing, and we spoke with Matt about the larger portion, the $3.6 million, the non-tax revenues in this case for your community was not large enough. I just barely covered debt service, so we had to come to an income tax pledge in order to get this proposed through the bond fund. And so that's what would be suggested here. And again, we would try to filter in we wouldn't say we would try, we will filter in some sort of like burn-off provision. So when debt service, for example, hits 1.15 coverage ratio of revenues to debt, and some sort of metric where there's enough cash built up in the utility fund, then we can let that burn off for good. And because once we have some history, it makes financing a little bit easier to get done in the future if there is need for that. But in terms of moving from the 1.6 figure up to $3.6 million, we had to move in a different direction relative to the credit profile. So it's a mechanism that's used often. Again, it's not designed to pay the debt service. We're going to talk about that in a second. What's designed to pay the debt service, like any utility, like your water, sewer, are the revenues of that system. This is just merely a credit enhancement to make sure we get the lower interest rates. Otherwise, we're looking at interest rates that may not make it feasible.
Right. Can I just
go ahead.
real quick for you? With the 1.6, that was not in that you were not using the income tax.
We were
pledge.
using the
You were
non-tax
using-
revenue pledge, and so
Right.
that would have been, and non-tax revenues, the definition of what makes that up are fines and forfeitures, charges for service, interest, rental income, anything that's not a tax
Right.
in your revenue stream.
But to get to the 3.6, you had to use.
The income tax revenue
Okay,
pledge. That's correct.
I just want to make sure I was understanding.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I may,
Yes.
that pledge would mean then that if revenues from utility didn't cover it, then it would have to come out of the income tax from the citizens to pay that debt,
Yeah,
is what you're saying?
so the income tax is the credit security. You can pay from any available.
Pay it any way you want. but-
Yeah, it's not, it's really more of a, in our world, they look at, what happens if everything blows up tomorrow, how they can get paid back. And so they define it to a specific credit security. In this case, it can be any revenue, it can be general fund balance, quite frankly, if you wanted to put it that way.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Down below, we just gave you a little bit of chart of what that looked like before. You can see the non-tax revenues we list there that, actually, we don't list this in this chart. We do have a chart, we can show that to you if you want to see what that non-tax revenue coverage ratio looks like. Just let me know.
Okay.
So working with Tina, we came through with the, this is just a snapshot of what they put together in their spreadsheets relative to the cash flow. And the way this would be set up, and again, this is very typical with revenue financings, that you're trying to get the revenues from the system to build up to start paying debt service on its own. And this is just one example of how we could structure it, but the money would be planned to be borrowed and delivered early December, so you can start the project and get things moving in terms of the infrastructure needs of that system. In 2021, which would be the year of ramp up for the utility, we wouldn't have a debt payment. We would what they call capitalize the interest. They borrow the interest in the financing to pay the bondholders, and there would be no principal payment. So we borrow that money for the first year to give us some more room to ramp up. In 2022, year number 3, you see there down below, we have our first bond payment, $195,000, very bottom of that page there. And so that gives us a little bit more breathing room, the way we structured that, so that we could build up some more revenues, make sure we're hitting our targets relative to signups, and then continue on. And then you see 2023, we start to amortize a little bit of principal, and we slowly inch up the debt service and level it off over time. And this is designed, and this is just one example, and we could be more conservative once we start to move down the path here, delay a little bit more principal if we like. The problem is at some point in time you got to pay the principal off, right? So you don't want to delay too much of it.
Right.
So it makes your payments larger in the out years. This is just a snapshot of what this looks like, so that you get a feel for what the revenue streams, given the user base that they're projecting. I'm not the one to ask about the projections, that's Tina's group, but in terms of how we would make sure that we're trying to get to a range, but you're comfortable with what's going on with a larger dollar amount, and making sure that we don't have a hit to the general fund or the income tax fund.
Right. And these are using I think you have it as customers passed. Those are coming from QT. And that's from the study that you gave us. And that's still using the 40% take rate.
45% take rate.
45%
So we
rate.
kept that very conservative.
Uh,
Amortized over 20 years instead of 15, and added some additional rooftops because of the new development.
Okay, so you started factoring that in. Okay.
And candidly too, with the technology, the fact that it has a long lifespan where you're not having to reinvest to keep it up to date.
Mhm. Okay. I'll let you keep going, Andy.
I wasn't going to go through each line item.
Okay.
I know there's some information here. I'm not going to worry about going line by line.
I'm sorry, I didn't flip over yet.
The rest of it's just boring disclaimers that we have to read
Okay,
from the
yeah.
SEC.
right.
You can read that and fall asleep later on. But in terms of what we see here and working with your team, we build this up, I think, conservatively over time. So, and you can see in year 8, it's projected at just below $1 million in cash balance there. Working with the Port Authority, if you decide to move forward with this, we'll start to work out, having to move quickly, we'll have to work out some arrangements with them. The nice thing of working with the Port Authority and their bond fund is you're dealing with them on the credit aspects of the transaction. You're not dealing with a bondholder. And so they're issuing the bonds based upon their credit backstop, but, you know, they just did a deal just like this over in Spring Grove. And they're used to doing financings that are startup in nature like this.
Okay. Any questions? It's quite a bit to kind of
Yeah.
get
We'll
her.
be back again, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's, I'm
it's a
sure
sort of
once
a-
we kind of get everything, our heads wrapped around it a
Right.
little bit. And
Yeah, I understand.
all right. Awesome. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next agenda item. It's manager's report. I'll let Ben.
Mayor and council, I just want to fill you guys in on the following projects. The booster station, we had discussed a little bit when we started talking about finance stuff for 2021. What it all boils down to is we had some issues getting the pumps. The initial pumps that were spec'd were not, speaking with Tim, which is our pump guru, not what we wanted that's compatible with our system. So that took some time, plus the design itself of the station, from the inside to the outside. So we were running a little bit behind on that. So basically, we met with Andy from Choice One today. He's gonna get some final dates. Hopefully, I was hoping to have them by Friday, because we need to know from them exactly what their build date is. As far as the installation of the station, the bids are going out this week, and they'll be open Thursday, November 5th at 2 p.m. So hopefully, if we know by the end of this week what the timeline is for the station. The reason we're not sure is because we don't know if there was a holdup because of the pumps or not. And that's what Andy from Choice One is going to find out and let us know. Hopefully I'll talk to him yet tomorrow or Thursday. So any questions on the booster station?
So that's for East Milton, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
See, it's catching
Still trying.
on. Yeah, it's catching on.
I like that. The bid opened for the 571 bridge insulation installed today. Unfortunately, this is an extremely unique project. We knew that going in. I think Tim and I had tried for probably a year to get someone to at least give us a quote, and it's really unusual that you can't get one company to quote it. We did entertain Broomball Construction, came out, and I think they just felt it was beyond their scope. Putting the insulation on is easy, doing it hanging over, or underneath the bridge over the river is the hard part. So we still do have the stuff coming. I would like Choice One to go through all the bid documentations, and I wanted to meet with Lene. I had a few questions with one bidder and the amount being almost double what the engineer's estimate was. I wanted to talk to Lene first to make sure. So once again, I'm hoping by Friday I can give you guys all the information. Andy should be done with the bid specs by Thursday, and I'll talk to Lene and we'll see what we have to do, and then I'll put a full report together on Friday. I just wanted to let you know that was coming. And really the only other thing is I wanted to thank Mayor Miller, council members Jason Lane and Chris Horn, along with our division heads, Jill, Chief Bussey, Lieutenant Wright, Chief Jay. We had a really good budget meeting last night. We were really dealt with a bad hand this year, and we've managed to really not only keep going from our staff internally, but our council has been, I think, very good at picking and choosing what we can take on right now, what we can't. The infrastructure items that are most important, all but one of them were completed this year, and the last one we're hoping to have done yet by January. We're not bidding the project, we're gonna do the project in-house. So that won't be a problem. So I just wanna thank you guys for our first meeting. I think it you know, going into it, we really didn't know what to expect. And I think once we came out, I mean, I know we're in the right direction now. So we have full commitment from our staff. They've been working through the crisis, and they really deserve the credit for a lot of what we don't spend annually. So, Mr. Mayor, that's all I had.
Thank you, Ben. And I would just kind of like to jump on that point because anytime I can, I will always say what a great job all the employees here in West Milton do. They're making our job much easier because of the willingness to go above and beyond. And it does not go unnoticed. So we appreciate that. It really, that's what keeps the city running. So the meeting, I think, was productive. I think we're going in the right direction. And we have another meeting on the 26th. And so hopefully we'll have that pretty much nailed down as much as we can. Unfortunately, just so that council is aware, there are still going to be some items that are just up in the air until the end of the year just because of COVID and the way it pushed everything back, and especially our revenues, and being able to see where we're at on those. So, but we're getting there. So, thank you, Ben. Appreciate it. Find my agenda here. Moving on. Any old business by council?
Actually, Ben, could you update us on how the development's going and how close they are to the first home being built? I mean, I think the residents just like to know. They're always asking, and I know you're out there every week, so.
Actually, I'm gonna have Tim do that.
Ooh, okay, Tim.
Our inspector, Tim Swarstrup.
Hi. We are done with phase one. We are now, since we have Blacktop down, DP&L and Beckburn will start their installation. We're on the list. You have to have Blacktop down to get on that list. So they finished up last Friday with everything out there. So basically we're just waiting on Beckburn and DP&L. We have a few things on the punch list to take care of, but we'll be waiting on phase 2 and 3 now. So I know that phase 2 and 3 have been sent out for prices, so that's what they're waiting on. So, any other questions?
So-
You can drive out there.
I know.
Blacktop's down.
I can drive back there?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Yep, so
I'm not
just
gonna
be
get
careful, the
pulled
stop
over.
signs aren't up yet. So just kind of watch what you're doing. The signs have been ordered and, they're decorative, so it's going to take a little bit.
Why, is there high traffic up there?
Especially on 571 coming out.
That's true.
Huh?
Have they decided, is it just gonna be a stop sign there? They're not doing a
There'll be a
light?
stoplight there.
Oh, there will be.
That's phase 2 and 3, there'll be a stoplight.
Oh.
That'll be widened.
Okay.
Stoplight will go.
Where are we talking about the stoplight?
In the middle of the hill?
Yeah.
It's actually, where the golf course entrance is.
It
And
is
the
on
entrance-
571?
Yeah.
Eddings and 571?
No. Back this way,
Where the
west.
main entrance
Further
is.
west, yeah.
further west from Iddings.
It's almost
Eddings is
exactly
further
It's
across.
on Eddings.
Huh?
Further west from Eddings? You mean on 571?
On 571's west of Iddings, there's a golf course.
So it's gonna be further west of the Eddings.
Back towards the ridge. Where the entrance is to the new subdivision.
Right, really. So it's gonna be on the hill?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of,
Holy crap. That's gonna be a nightmare in the wintertime.
but anyways, that's coming in phase 2.
That's gonna be a mess, guys. This is gonna be a death trap. I hate to say that. I didn't mean to down your party, but whew, that's what I was afraid of.
Any new business by council this evening?
Actually, yes.
Yes.
I know, I always have new business. We are going to be having the West Milton Open House, Holiday Open House, in November, let's see, it's November 19th through the 22nd. It's the weekend before Thanksgiving. So all of the shops will be open. I know everyone's been asking. There's a lot of people that go there annually. It's our 31st. It's the 31st, so we've been having them for 31 years, or 30 years, yeah. But, so yeah, we're gonna do it. We checked with the health department and they said, you know, it's fine, just, obviously social distance, and I'm sure everybody's used to that by now, obviously. But yeah, we're gonna be having that, so come down and support it, and I think it'll be a fun weekend.
Great. Good to hear. Thanks, Sarah.
I just thought of something.
Yeah.
What about next Friday? Is that still on or not? Buffalo?
Oh,
Next
we will
Friday?
talk about that, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, maybe,
Okay. Let us know.
yeah. Yeah, I do wanna talk about that, but.
Okay. That's fine. Any comments by citizens this evening?
I already said my part.
All right. Seeing none.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to adjourn into executive session pursuant to Section 4.12B, Section 5B, to consideration the purchase of property for public purposes or for the sale of property at competitive bidding.
Second?
Roll call?
Quinn,
Yes.
Cobb,
Yes.
Hurst,
Yes.
Horn,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
and Mayor Miller.
Yes. Thank you guys for coming. When we adjourn from executive session, there will be no more business taken afterwards. So you guys feel free to hang around if you want to, but there will be no more business conducted afterwards. So just so that you guys are aware. All right. We'll take just a 5-minute recess here and allow everybody to exit out and